Hi gang, Rob here. It is the afternoon of 7 January 2019, coming to you with a From the Sharpening Bench video, sort of a mini knife review on a relatively new product from Kershaw Knives. Let me set this baby down just a minute. This is the 7777 from Kershaw in that beautiful red and black box. There is your model, the Bareknuckle Quad 7, and this knife is made in the USA. So what is the Quad 7? Well, it is the 4th version of an interesting knife in folding knife history, the Kershaw 777, which was a very similar knife to this in shape and form. Whoops. It was an extremely expensive limited production knife that debuted the subframe lock for Kershaw. It was made, I think, with a composite blade, some really, for the time, exotic materials, and it was really expensive. It was a co-branded, I don't know if it was intended to be co-branded, but it was a joint project with Microtech. The Microtech version of the 777 was known as the Matrix, and I think the Matrix might have hit the market before the 777, and the 777 was kind of a unicorn, like very few actually produced. If you have one of those, it's probably worth a whole lot of money. Anyway, legendary pissing match ensued between Kershaw and Microtech. I think there was an initial lawsuit by Kershaw for patent infringement. There was a later lawsuit by Microtech against Kershaw for defamation of character. But the knife lived on, or the concept of the 777 lived on. It first hit the market in mass production as the Zero Tolerance ZT0770, the 770. That knife was produced first in carbon fiber handle, I think with an LMAX blade. Then there were later versions in S35VN, a G10 handle, and even an aluminum handle. And if that wasn't enough to satisfy the market for this modified Wharncliffe beauty, there was the Kershaw Natrix, not Matrix spelled with an M, but Natrix spelled with an N as in Nancy. That was a cheap Chinese knife for about 35 bucks in HCR 13 MOV steel. It looked, I think it was in G10 only, but the milling on the handle looked almost exactly like this. Those knives were both speed safe spring assisted, the 770 and the Natrix. Fast forward late 2017, Kershaw releases this knife, the Quad 7 Bareknuckle. It's a little different than its sisters, and I'll show you how here in just a second. First of all, the Natrix and the 770, Kershaw and ZT respectively, both had 3¼ inch blades. The Quad 7 Bareknuckle has a 3½ inch blade. I didn't know what was different about this until I looked at the specs. I thought this knife was a little narrower in this dimension, and frankly it is a little wedgy. I think I had to sharpen this at 18 degrees per side to get this sort of wide-ish bevel, which was a little disappointing. But I don't think the blade is any less broad. I think it's an extra 1/4 inch in length that gives it that perspective. So you get a little longer blade. Then you have a 4 11/16 inch handle. Plenty of real estate. Not at all cramped. Not saying the other two were, but this is nice and spacious. The other big difference, instead of having the Kershaw speed safe mechanism, we have a ball bearing pivot to go with that flipper deployment. Look at that free swing and beauty. Still have the subframe lock. Although the milling on the handle of the Natrix and the Bareknuckle are a little different than the 770, in one of these areas where the milling is different, it kind of bugs me. I'm not fond of this large recess where that short deep carry clip resides. I think it makes it a little tough to engage your pants with. It is a very stiff clip. Now it does keep it low profile and out of the way once you get your pants clipped to it, but it's not my favorite clip design and handle design. The clip design is probably fine, but having it sit down below the surface on which your pants slide up to it is not great. That's really the only knock I'm going to give the knife. I do love that it is reversible left or right, tip up carry. I have no issues with the ball bearing pivot whatsoever. I kind of prefer it to the speed safe action. Not only do I really sort of dislike spring assisted knives because they don't close friendly. You can't just swing them closed like you can this knife. It sort of takes a double move to do it. The offside washer on a speed safe knife is very tiny, giving the blade very little support. So if you're going to have a blade with very little support, you might as well put it on ball bearings. Makes it more fun to play with, I think. So blade steel on this Bareknuckle Quad 7 is, I think, something to note. It is the good old standby for a Kershaw American-made knife in the sub $100 range. It is Sandvik 14C28N, which is a plenty fine steel, just not a particularly high-end steel. I would classify it sort of a step below 154 cm in the edge retention department, about the same ability to take a keen edge, and about as tough as 154 cm. Kind of an upgrade from AUS 8, but not quite 154 cm, I guess. Now, because Kershaw chose to release this knife in the Sandvik steel in 2019, I have a hunch. First, let's talk about the other materials. I believe the frame lock is stainless steel. Correct me if I'm wrong. The pocket clip definitely stainless. The handle is that gray, almost has a blue hue, hard anodized aluminum, and it is super handsome. But what do I mean about the steel and Kershaw? Well, look back in history of high volume American made knives by Kershaw that started out in a Sandvik steel, be it 13C26 or 14C28N. Those knives, if they sell well, almost always get made later on in better steels for a little more money. I would fully expect the Bareknuckle to appear in the coming years with different handle colorations, maybe even different handle materials, and certainly some higher end blade steel. So if you want to buy a Bareknuckle, and I think they street for about $76, $77 out of the gate. If you want to buy one, I'd say go right ahead. It's a plenty fine knife. Super nice cutter. Great utility blade, good ergonomics, and very handsome, I think. But beware, if you're going to buy one and beat it to death and make it a work knife, that might be one thing to do. Or you could keep it nice and maybe give it as a gift later when the one you want comes out. Because you know there's going to be a $110, $120 Bareknuckle and M390, and that's 35VN version, maybe in a little bit cooler color. But as a first release of a new model at an affordable price to get it in some hands and make people yearn for a nicer one, I think Kershaw did a great job with the Bareknuckle. Really, really well executed mechanically. I got no issues with it whatsoever. Do wish to ground the blade just a little thinner. Not that it won't cut, it certainly will, but it is ground more thickly than a 770 zero tolerance, just so you know. This one is going home today to its owner, my buddy Scott from Florida. So get ready, my friend. Wait by the mailbox. This will be coming in a box with some other pretty cool stuff. That is all for this one, my friends. Grace to you and peace from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. And remember, the Word and Scott's bare knuckle are sharp.